I used to be a travel nurse. I actually just stopped travel nursing, but Jenna had more of an interesting ride these past few months, so we can get into that if you want to.
Yikes. Welcome to episode 1 of the Hospital Hotseat, your regular dose of nursing station tea.
I'm Alyssa.
I'm Jenna.
And we're nurses.
So how long have you been a nurse?
I've been a nurse. I'm so toxic. I always say just a few years. But
Not you pulling your whole new job that you were actually a new grad?
Yeah. No, yeah, my new job right now, everyone's like, oh, how long have you been a nurse for? And I'm like, oh, a few years, whatever. But I've been an LPN since 2013 and RN since 2017. So yeah, I've been out here for a little bit.
Nice.
How about you?
I've been a nurse since 2017, so around 6.5 years.
Hell yeah.
I was a nursing assistant before that. No LPN here.
See, but I feel like nurses that start as nursing assistants are primo.
Yeah, you have like the respect of how the whole system works, whereas nurses that have no past experience come in and they're like spoiled. They expect the world. They don't know how to do things for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and there's always like the fight of, or not the fight, I guess, like the disagreement and the conversation of, oh, do you think that nurses who haven't been CNAs before being nurses are like crappier nurses? And I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think that it's also like, appropriately delegating things, and not just sitting at the nursing station when call lights are going off and being like, hey, can you get that to your CNA, and just like going and getting the call light. Like if you're not charting something super important, or if you're just on your phone watching Netflix, like go get the call light.
Yeah.
But anyways, I used to be a travel nurse. I actually just stopped travel nursing, but Jenna had more of an interesting ride these past few months, so we can get into that if you want to.
Yikes. Yeah, so I thought that it would be a good idea to take a staff job at my last contract, and I did it, and I allowed 2 paychecks to come in, and I realized how bad staff nurse pay still is. Even being at a union hospital in the state of California, like, I think my gross check was supposed to be like $4,000, and I ended up only taking home $2,500. That shit hurt. I couldn't financially do it, so I went back to travel nursing. I was like, I'm sorry, I got a blast, bro. I got debt.
See, and as a staff nurse in Florida, I would take home, if I was lucky, $1,200 every 2 weeks, and I was maybe saving like $300 per paycheck, maybe. Barely paying my rent, barely scraping by. And so, yeah, my paychecks can be around $2,500 to like $2,800. But for me, I'm like, I don't know. I grew up in the ghetto.
But
So,
I think the biggest kicker for you is the reason that you're able to go staff and live comfortably is because you took those nice contracts. You took a lot of PTSD with it, but you took one of the early COVID New York travel contracts.
She knows me. She
got to pay off
Yeah.
all her debts, whereas I hopped on the travel train a little late. I didn't get any of those good paying contracts.
Yeah, so I was in New York when New York was really, really bad. I took one of those 10K a week contracts, but I also did like literally 21 on, 1 off, and then like 42 in a row night shifts. It was crazy. So I'm basically like a geriatric nurse by now. I can go into retirement. I've worked so much. But yeah, I did earn a lot of money, the 10K a week, but that was gross. So with the New York taxes taken out, if they were also taking out our insurance, it would be either like $7,500 to like $8K a week. But yeah, I saved that money, and that's like what helped me to get a kickstart on everything. And that's why I'm able and okay with, taking a pay cut from travel nursing. I'm still making 6 figures a year, which is crazy to me because I just tried to go back to Florida and I literally quit 2 shifts in because it was so bad. And they were trying to pay me as staff though, like when I was considering taking a staff job at UM and at this HCA hospital in the cath lab. But they were trying to pay me literally like $25 an hour as a staff nurse.
With experience.
With like my years and years and years of experience, which mind you, when I left Florida, I was making $25 an hour by the time that I left. But that was with working night shifts overtime and with working weekends as well, because we got the weekend differential, the night differential, and overtime. I was making anywhere from like 25 to 32 an hour. But how the fuck do I leave for 3 years and come back with all this other experience, and you still want to try me with 25 an hour when I can't even pay my rent like that?
No,
so
especially not in Miami.
Yeah. So my rent here is cheaper than what I was paying in Miami, and we're living in a very nice place. We live in the same place.
Yeah, we're in the same building, different floors.
I think you would agree that it's a very nice place. I mean,
we used to be roommates. We're almost roommates still.
And then they were roommates, but now they're neighbors. Yeah. But yeah, that's the reason why I'm able to do what I'm doing right now and able to live more comfortably.
Yeah, and I also did go back to grad school, which was another big debt pile in deciding that I didn't want to do that, because I took out a lot of student loans for that one. And changed my mind in the middle of it. So now, the debt doesn't change its mind.
I'm done. The debt really doesn't. But honestly, that should apply on like my personal life too. Like, the debt doesn't change its mind. The thing is that I feel like why you were able to continue travel nursing, like why I had to make like such a split decision to stop, which is the same reason why like I woke up one day like literally 3 a.m. and was like, I have to go back to Florida. I have to go back, because I was like hemorrhaging money. I couldn't find a job out here. Like, as far as
there were no ICU contracts in California, which is why I'm in my current predicament where I've been in the OR for a year, because I've had to take OR nurse contracts in LA since I've been here pretty much, other than my very first contract, which we're not going to speak about. It's an evil place.
It's everybody's first contract out here.
Seriously. And then it ruins everybody's resume.
Yeah, 100%.
But there were like no ICU contracts. They just started popping up for real.
Yeah,
a year later.
But to put it in perspective, if you guys don't know, I do ICU and now I do emergency department. But I've done emergency department before, but I never like put it on my resume because I just always end up there. But I do like every type of ICU and now ED. But Jenna does ICU and OR. So what was beneficial for her is like when the ICU contracts dried up, she could just go to OR. For me, I was like sitting in California for probably like a month and a half in February, and I just like was not finding contracts, or if I was, they were getting swept up right away before I could even apply.
And the rates were trash.
They were.
Those rates were like $1,500 a week, which is nothing.
They were.
You have to consider like baseline rent if you're gonna get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in LA is gonna be anywhere from like $2,000 to $3,000.
Well, especially if you're a travel nurse and you're getting like a furnished place.
Oh yeah, it's $3,000 a month.
Yeah, I never paid less than $3,000. I mean, our rent in our house was $8,000 a month.
Yeah, we were paying more to split a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house than we are at our current place.
Yeah, we were paying $26,600 each, and over here we're paying like $23,000, $24,000 each. Like, isn't that crazy? And we didn't even have a pool and a gym in our other one. And we're, like, I don't even drive my car anymore. I drive my car to and from work, and then I walk everywhere or Uber everywhere. So I mean, I'm saving much more money, but I don't think I've even told you this, but from the time that I left our place that we lived together to like until I got my job, I spent $39,000 just living.
Oh my god.
Just living, but not like going out and partying and stuff like that. Like, I'm talking like trying to find a place to be. As far as like
gas is like $7 a gallon right now.
It is. There's that. Yeah. It cost me $89 just to fill my RAV4. Everybody makes fun of me for how I say my RAV4. RAV. They say I say it with an H. But yeah, so I drove to and from California. I had to get my apartment shipped over here from Miami, to and from Miami, whatever, from California.
Pod.
Yeah, I had to get my pod shipped over here. But I got rid of my apartment, so I didn't have a place to live. So I'm paying for these furnished Airbnbs, and it adds up. I mean, I was paying like literally like $3,800 I think when I was in Miami, like every week. And then I went to like North Florida. I was paying like $2,800 every week.
A week or a month?
Or every month. I'm sorry.
I was about to
every
say
month. Yeah. You're right. And I don't know. Basically, like, I'm very good with my money and with saving my money. And like that's just like I was just hemorrhaging money and just like trying to continue travel nursing and looking for a job and like trying to balance finding a place to live. Like, it just wasn't sustainable for me. If I had my own house that I was paying off, it probably would have been more sustainable and been better because I would have somewhere to go stay and not be paying so much money at a time, but that just wasn't the case. So now I'm finally like rebuilding my little savings that I just depleted.
Finally.
Finally.
So how do you feel being staff now that you've been a travel nurse? Like, what's your take on it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love it, but only because I've worked in the worst of the worst, like in Florida, where like I just posted a TikTok about this and it's like kind of popping off and getting a lot of the conversation going, where everyone's like, oh, why are you staffed? Why are you staffed? And I'm just like our understaffed in California is not even our fully staffed in Florida.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was able to cut my cost of living in half. I'm still able to save like at least like 1 to 2 full paychecks, like depending on how many weeks are in the month. But I'm still able to pay my rent with 1 paycheck, have stuff left over, and then my next few paychecks for the month, like literally just save them. But honestly, it's kind of nice, like, because as a traveler, you get floated first. You usually get the shittier assignments. And I don't know, it's just kind of cool, like, but it is kind of weird at the same time because there are some people that recognize me from TikTok that I work with. And they're like, oh my God, you trader, like, why are you not traveling anymore, blah, blah, blah. Or like, people will be on there like, oh, I thought you were a travel nurse. Like, it's travel nursing or like versus staff nursing, like, is it really like that bad? Or like why did you become staff? And I'm just like, if you guys knew how I grew up as a nurse, like I say grew up just like my career, like you would understand why I am staff. But I love it personally. But I still always get people like, oh, you know, like, it's still not good enough money, but I also have absolutely no expenses and, like, no debt, thankfully. But I was put in that position because of New York and other things. But I think if I was in a different position, I would probably still continue to travel. But I didn't want to leave. There were no contracts. This was the only option. But I'm really happy, though. I'm really happy at this job, honestly.
They gave you a good rate there compared to, like, what my staff rate was.
Yeah. They gave me, I think, at least like $5 to $10 more.
Yeah.
So
it's like 15 more.
Yeah.
My rate was poo. The union rate that they gave me, I don't feel like was right, and I'm too chicken to speak up and be like, hey, give me more money.
I'm done. I thought that they were gonna offer
like,
me.
no, I'm gonna just dip. Bye.
No, bro, really though, you literally were like, yeah, I don't know, like you wanted the job so bad, and then you're like, yeah, I just told my manager I put in my 2 weeks. I'm like, bro.
I mean, I cried about it. Like, I felt bad. I'm a loyal person deep down, but like, and at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be a broke bitch over loyalty.
That's so true, and that's my thing is like, I still will never be loyal to these hospitals because these hospitals do not care about you. But for right now, I feel like the hospital and I are like mutually benefiting from this agreement that we have for me to be a staff nurse. But as soon as I feel like it's not benefiting me, or if I ever feel like I'm being treated like crap, or like, you know, I could be making money elsewhere, 100% I won't hesitate to leave.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I actually was inspired to get my staff job because of you. And then I
said, psych!
Yeah, like as I'm like on my way back, like I'm driving back to Florida, and I'm like, oh, whatever, like Jenna got her staff job, right? And then she's like a week or two into it, or driving back from Florida. I get here, she's like a week into it, and I'm like actively applying for jobs. Like I just leased an apartment, you know, I'm getting ready to settle down. And
dude,
like,
I signed a whole 15-month lease too, and I'm stuck with it as a travel nurse. And I'm like,
but you text me and you're like, yo, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do? Like, and I know that I don't have to do everything that you do, but it helps to have like your guidance. And I'm like, shit, like is it really that bad?
For me it was. Good for you. I'm glad that you got a place that like respects you and pays you well enough and like honors your years. And I think my biggest issue going into mine was they only honored my OR skills and my years of OR experience. So like they cut my union rate in half because I've got 3 years OR, 3 years ICU. So they only wanted to give me 3 years of experience, even though I have 6.5 now.
Yeah, and for me, what's crazy is that I've worked in the ED many times, but I never put it on my resume because I've never specifically taken like an emergency department contract or an emergency department job. I just always end up in the emergency department because they see my level 1 trauma experience. Mm-hmm. They throw me down there, and then it goes from me being like just resource nurse to like, oh, can you take a team, to like, oh, like now instead of me going down there and being resource, to give me the whole team, and then I'm just working there. But either way, what I'm getting at is that I thought like with the grid, because basically if you guys don't know, in California, like if it's a union hospital, they give you like this grid, and based on years of experience is how they'll pay you. So I thought they were still just going to pay me like $40 an hour. Girl, they basically doubled that.
Yeah.
And with no actual ED on my resume, but I explained to the manager like in my hiring interview about how I've been in the ED many times and all that kind of stuff. So, but I really like,
she's a celebrity.
I'm done. Shut up. But honestly, like I really thought that they were gonna offer me $40 an hour, and I was ready to take it. I was like, you know what, $40 is still better than a 25 hours.
You were like,
girl,
it's fine.
Yeah,
I was like, girl, that's each paycheck that you get is both gonna be going to rent.
It's fine though. Literally, I was like dying in Florida. Like as far as ratios, I would be on somebody's chest doing CPR, clock out, no break, and I would still like get yelled at by my manager, be making dirt money, go home feeling guilty every day from work. So like if I'm making $40 an hour in California, I'm where I want to be. I'm with my friends. I'm getting ratios. I'm getting mandated breaks. I'm excited to go to work. I don't have pre and post shift anxiety. You know, like I'll take the $40, but girl, they doubled it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it though, because like I said, on the grid, like I really don't I do have ED experience, but it's not I don't put it on my resume purposefully.
And I think ICU more like directly translates to ED, where like any like floor or ICU nursing like should count as experience towards ED. Whereas like OR and ICU are just two completely different entities, and it does kind of hurt to a certain point whenever I'm trying to pick assignments or take jobs for either specialty. Like
100%.
The hours that I put in for each of those don't count towards the other.
100%. So like, do you want to talk about how you just had trouble finding the ICU contract, even though you've been working as a nurse and you have tons of ICU experience?
Bro, I got rejected by multiple ICU contracts that I applied to because I was literally like applying to every ICU contract that popped up in the area. And granted, there are a bunch that are up right now that were not here a few months ago.
Really?
When you were searching.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every major hospital in the LA area has ICU contracts open.
Yeah.
And the rates are, they're not great. I think I was getting paid about the same in Virginia whenever I was over there doing ICU, which is like...
As a traveler or staff?
As a traveler.
Oh, yeah.
I only worked staff in Alabama and then here for a month.
Done.
But yeah, what was I saying?
That since you haven't worked in the ICU.
Oh, yeah, so they kept rejecting me saying like, oh, well, it's been a year since your last ICU contract. Look, I took, fresh out of that staff job, I took an ICU contract that backed out at the last minute. They canceled because they ended up hiring a staff member. So I didn't get ICU again. And then took this current OR contract that I'm at because I was in a crunch and I was like, I gotta have income, like I don't have a choice. And so I've been here, and that makes a year mark in November that I've been out of the ICU. But I've tried like at multiple hospitals and had contracts like almost lined up that they just back out or they have somebody else, and it's like, okay. I feel like there was another ICU that whenever I decided to go staff, I had already signed another ICU contract. And then I ended up canceling and backing out of that one. Because I was over in, like, Pomona. I didn't want to drive that far. And the rate was, like...
I don't even know where Pomona is.
$1,900 a week or, like, $2,000 a week, which is dirt. It's nothing for a contract in California.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, I'll probably make more as staff. Little did I know. And
I keep trying to convince Jenna to just, like, quit travel nursing and come be an emergency department nurse at my hospital because I know that they'll give her the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still working on it.
My only hold up at this point is my boyfriend has 1.5 years left of residency. So for me to go staff now, I'm like, it was because I took that last staff job when I had like 2 years left here.
Okay, but why? Why are you not taking staff because of him? Where is he going?
If I'm gonna up and leave in 1.5 years, if he
okay, so where are we going? What the hell?
If he matches fellowship somewhere else, I gotta go. Also, like, both of us being broke because residents don't make a whole lot.
Bro, that's so toxic because I'm going with her.
All right, well, come on. It's fine. You said you would leave anyways.
Only if you guys go.
I don't know yet.
But I gotta stop. Well, I'll quit though in a heartbeat because
she don't care.
Yeah, I don't. And also, I don't know. I love my friend. I gotta be where she is. I'm sorry.
She's the third entity in our relationship.
I am. But it's not like a wheelbarrow. It's more of like a tripod.
We're not, and it's not in like a romantic way. It's like just a mutual.
We don't have to justify ourselves to them.
Yeah, they don't even know. Ain't
Anyways,
nothing going on here.
We got both the Santas here today.
Yeah. So this is Miami Santa. He's been around for a bit.
Yeah, Miami Santa comes to work with me, and he works for his new chanclas. And we just got LA Santa. So,
as you can see, he's a little slimmer. He's a little taller. He looks like he got some Botox, kind of like any LA person.
100%. His beard is a little more scraggly, but his beard is dreaded because he was Miami Rasta for a little bit. Okay, so let me ask you this. What made you decide to want to start travel nursing?
So, it was in the pandemic. It was 2021. The pandemic had already been going on for a year. I was in a toxic, like, abusive relationship. and was in NP school trying to get clinicals done, and I had like 8 or 9 preceptors cancel on me that semester that I was going to do my clinicals with. And I was like, well, shit, Alabama doesn't have anybody else that can take me. Let me just go up to Virginia where my family's from. Like, my dad's side of the family's all up there, and maybe I can secure a contract or get like a travel nurse job up there, and I can get a preceptor to do my NP clinical hours, and we'll see what happens with the relationship. I'm not going to delve into like too many details about why I couldn't just end the relationship and stay local, but that family was deeply rooted in Alabama, and I was just like, if I don't get out, like, I'm never going to escape it, and I don't want to deal with this. So I dipped, and I stupidly took a 412 contract for my first travel nursing contract and didn't think about the fact that I wouldn't have time to do my clinical hours. And I did a whole semester, and in May decided, because I started travel nursing March of 2021, by the end of May, I was finishing up my contract, and I was like, I've seen some other NPs now at like another facility outside of Alabama. They still seem overworked. I'm making more than they are as a travel nurse. I don't think this is what I want to do. So I said, never mind.
I love that.
I kept on travel nursing, and it was like my first contract that I met Omar. Yeah, at the end of my first contract, whenever I was moving over to Richmond, he was finishing up his intern year of like prelim surgery, and we hung out for 2 weeks, and then he matched anesthesia out here.
That's so cool. That's so cool. How did you go about finding your first contract though? Were you scared? I had no idea. Scared. I didn't know anything.
I went to, I guess at this point, it's been long enough, I don't really care. I'll disclose where it was. So I went to UVA. Was my first travel contract ever. I knew UVA was like well known for their medicine. Like, they're one of the highly regarded hospitals in the US for being a great teaching hospital, being a great college. It's a college town, it's small. I also grew up obsessed with Dave Matthews Band, so he started in Charlottesville. And my dad's first job like in a hospital was also at UVA. So I was like, I want to follow in my dad's footsteps. I want to go take a contract up there and see what it's like. And my grandparents lived around the corner, so I got to stay with them and just commute.
Damn, so you pocket that stipend?
Yeah, well, I wrecked my car the first month that I was there.
Oh,
and I had to pay for a rental out of pocket, so all that stipend I could have pocketed went towards our rental car.
I'm done. But how did you go about finding an agency? Like, was that was scary for me. Like, I didn't know who to go through. Like, what did you do?
I really just, like, looked up travel nurse agencies. And I think the first one that popped up, I like made an account with, and I saw where you could just see how like every rate was listed, like all the details of the hospitals were listed on there, and it was very like self-driven to go onto that website and pick like a contract. It was through Aya.
Oh yeah.
And that's the only agency that I've ever traveled with, and I've just stuck with it. Just because like I'm an independent person, I don't want to be harassed by a recruiter 24/7. And I don't want them texting me every day, like, I have this contract open, I have this contract open. Yeah. Like, girl, I'm already looking online. I'll tell you when I see a contract and I want you to submit it. Don't bother me otherwise, please.
I know, I literally changed my phone number a few months ago because there was this one recruiter that would not stop bothering me no matter how many times I told him to.
Yeah.
And he was texting me, like, you think you're going to get away from me so easily? Like, I know you're a good nurse with all this experience. He's like, people really come across with this resume. And I was like, yep, I changed my number so fast.
They're like pushy salespeople. Like,
no, they are.
You really can't escape them. And I can tell them, like, hey, I'm going staff, I'm not traveling anymore. Like, hey, I'm not interested. And they'll still
harass you,
and bug you and text you and call you months later, years later.
Yeah.
And so it's just been better for me. I know like the company that I'm with is not got the best track record, and I think it depends 100% on your recruiter also.
Yeah.
Like having a good recruiter. And this recruiter was also recommended to me by one of my friends that was at my hospital in Alabama.
Yeah.
So he got like a referral bonus for referring me, and I ended up with a great recruiter that doesn't get on my nerves.
Yeah, her recruiter was texting her today like, you'll find a contract, we just got to manifest. And I'm like, she's texting me, she's like, this is why this recruiter is my recruiter. Like,
I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, you have to drive with each other 100%.
And there are people, when it comes to traveling, some will choose their travel company based on rates. My travel company is not known for their rates. They're just not. It's fine. But if it gives me peace of mind knowing that I'm not going to be harassed every day, I'll take a lower rate.
Because, yeah, and also just having a good recruiter, because that's so important when you're trying to find a contract. Like, you can have better rates, but a not responsive recruiter, and then you can be losing money trying to find a contract.
Yeah, definitely.
I've definitely, like, switched agencies because of bad recruiters. Like, I've traveled with a lot of different companies.
I'll set you up with mine whenever we match fellowship.
I'm done. Yeah, when you match fellowship, I'm out. That's crazy. I guess we're moving, you guys.
I want to go to Chicago so bad.
Oh, my flowmate lives in Chicago, so it'll be perfect.
It's like, I have this dream and picture in my head that I'm going to end up in Chicago at some point in time.
It's too cold there, though.
I don't care. That's why you wear layers.
I'm done.
But it's like, it's in the city. You could walk to work, like, if you get in the right spot.
We already walk everywhere right now.
I don't walk to work right now. It takes
you don't
me
need to walk to work.
minutes.
During the darkness, right, say if you get a contract at like 5:45 a.m., like you gotta leave, right, or like be there at 6:30, you're gonna be walking in the pitch black to work in Chicago.
I've bowed up at some people on the street in Chicago before.
You bowed up at a person the other day. This homeless guy was coming up to us, and he was like literally trying to square up with Jenna, and she like puts her finger in his face. She's like, "Don't."
Look,
he was like, "Okay."
The one thing that I have to thank is my genetics. Like, I'm a big girl. I'm 5'8". I'm thicker built. Like, it's less likely that somebody is really going to step up and mess with me. Like, yes, people carry guns. Yes, it's dangerous out here. But I'm a human highlighter, and I'm not small. So
I feel like that's why sometimes why they try to mess with you, though, because remember that other unhoused guy that he came up and he
grabbed my hair.
Yeah, and literally I think that it was just your hair that was like setting him off.
Tripping balls, man.
Yeah, and he just wanted to just like by the grace of the universe, Jenna had like just like walked by and like he went like this and her hair like had just flown by, but thank God that he didn't grab onto you. But I know you would have just swung around and taken care of it.
I don't know. I've never been in a fight. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I have my fists ready when I'm walking. I'm like walking like the Arnold meme. Like,
I'm done. No, so
Arthur.
But I started travel nursing. In like 2020, like when the pandemic started, like at the height of it.
Yeah, you hopped on it at the high paying time.
Yeah, but I didn't know about the money though. Honestly, like for me, like I had a really like crazy traumatic shift, which we can go into at like a different time. And that's like I went home like crying to my ex-boyfriend, and I was like, I have to get out of here. Like I can't keep working here. Like I'm scared for my license. Like I'm scared for my patients, whatever. So like I had already known that I wanted to leave, but I didn't know for sure that I wanted to travel nurse. But I knew that like I didn't want to work there anymore, and I needed to go somewhere else. And that was one of the good hospitals in Florida that is like known for trying to keep ratios and has like really good doctors and everything. Like they're like state-of-the-art technology, everything. But anyways, when the pandemic happened, I was like sitting on my couch, just like how we are right now. And I was drinking wine, watching the TV, and it was Cuomo on the TV, and he was like, please, if you guys have the skills, if you feel like your state doesn't need you, please come help us. And that was like right when, I don't know if you remember like the cruise ship that docked in Florida.
Yeah, the Navy ship.
Yeah, so, well, no, it wasn't a Navy ship.
That was
it was
in
like,
New York.
No. This was in Florida, like a cruise ship, like docked, and it wasn't even supposed to stop at the Fort Lauderdale, like dock. But so many people had COVID and were getting sick that they had to stop, but they stayed at the dock for 3 days, and nobody would let them off because they weren't even supposed to stop there, and the pandemic was just starting. So eventually the cruise ship made an agreement with my hospital, and we accepted them, and that was like my first experience with COVID. And we set up the auditorium with like all these stretchers and like sheets hanging down, and we put all the cruise ship people there, and they were really sick and like they were dying. But that was like my first experience with it, and I was like, yeah, like this sucks, but I feel like I can do this. Like it was scary, but it wasn't like I don't feel like I can do this. And so I literally like wrote my 2 weeks to my manager that night, like emailed her. She emailed me back, just don't come back. And I bought my ticket to New York. I really didn't even know how much I was going to be making yet.
Yeah.
Because the rates were still being decided. I got to New York, got to my hotel, and then they sent me the contract, and it was like $10,000 a week. And I was like, oh my God, I just quit my job for a scam. Like I thought I was getting scammed. I had no idea, like...
your mental health was getting scammed.
Yeah, my mental health did get scammed. It was crazy because they definitely lied to us about the resources and everything. But of course, I mean, New York was a shit show. But that was how I started travel nursing. And I did the 21 on, 1 off, and 42 in a row. And then I continued doing 4 shifts a week every contract, and probably until I got to California the second time.
Yeah, I remember whenever I first started following you on TikTok, you were constantly doing like 412s, 512s, even over here in LA. And I was like, those rates over there aren't bad. What is this girl doing? Is she crazy?
Yeah.
What's wrong with her?
I just worked myself into craziness. And then finally it was when I met you, which if you guys don't know, we met on TikTok.
Yeah,
but
I slid into her DMs
she
and I was
did,
like,
she
hey,
did.
I don't have any friends out in LA and I'm moving out there. You want to hang out?
Yeah, she's like, I think we'd be friends. And like, I get those comments all the time, or like sometimes I'll miss them, but I won't usually click on the profile and act on it. And for some reason, I clicked on her profile and I saw her, like, it was a video of like, I think it was Omar taking the video. She's like, hey Jenna, how's siesta? And she turns around, she's like, he's great. And I was like, I like DM'd her. I was like, yep, let's be friends. When are you coming out here? Like we met at an EDM show.
Yeah, we met at Academy.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And it's so funny that like she doesn't respond to anybody on TikTok usually because me being outgoing and sliding into somebody's DMs, like I'm way more friendly and outgoing on social media than I actually am in person. Like you see how I interact with others in person and meeting new people. I'm so freaking shy.
Yeah, and I have diarrhea of the mouth with talking to people, so it's so weird.
It was like roles reversed.
Yeah, it's so weird that like you're the one over here like, hey, I think we'd be friends, and then like I never respond to anybody when they say that, and then I'm like, and then finally I respond to you, like you weren't harassing me, but like finally like there is one person that I respond to, but like if you guys see me out like in my daily life, like I'm making friends with everybody, and then she's over here like feeling them out, and
I'm a cat. I hide in my own safe shelter.
Yeah, feeling them out and just seeing like, is this person worth my time and my breath? Like if not, I'm just gonna sit back and chill, and then go do my own thing with the people that I actually like care about. But, like, it's so funny that, like, you were the one that, like, took the step, and now we're best friends. And I can't live without you. And if Omar gets residency somewhere else, guess who the fuck's coming? Me, bitch.
He already knows. He's already.
And Santas. Both the Santas are coming, too. But, yeah, I was doing, like, 4 or 5 a week, but it wasn't until I met her and we started being friends that she helped me to realize that, like, not only was my mental health deteriorating, but also, like, I was overworking myself for no reason. Like, the extra money really wasn't worth it. And you need to be able to have a balance. And that's, like, what you helped me recognize.
And as a traveler, like, the overtime pay gets taxed so much more. You don't really even take home that much more. Like, you get so much taxed whenever you work overtime. So I was like, what? Why? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Are you just bored and have nothing else to do?
Well, that too. I also had no friends until you came out here. Like, no real friends. Like, I always say, like, when I talk about, like, meeting Jenna, like, she's, like, the first sense of, like, family that I had since I came out here. Aw. I know. But, but, like, I had a bunch of friends and people that always wanted to, like, be my friend and hang out and like, party or whatever, but that's all that they were. Like, there was no one that, like, actually wanted to, like, create or, like, just, like, I don't know, just hang out and have a movie
wholesome
night.
activities.
Yeah, go hiking or, like, I don't know, just be weird. Like, I'm weird as hell, and people be like, what are you doing? I'll be weird as hell with Jenna, and she's like, all right, like, you be weird and I'll be weird too. Like, she doubles down on it. Like that's what I needed. So now when I met you and I met, a few other people, and we have our own little friend group going on, like, now I have a reason to not be working so much. But before, I was like, I'm travel nursing, I'm not going to have a job in between contracts, like, I'm going to regret not working as much as I could have. And then also, like, I'd be sitting at my days off and be like, well, what the heck am I doing, really? Like... But now I have you to hang out with, so,
Woohoo!
So, yeah, working 3 days a week has definitely been way better for me, though. And I think I'm still recovering from New York, which is also why I'm, like, I don't know, so, like, okay with just having a staff job and not having to stress on, like, finding a contract and whatnot. But, like I said, for me, I only have the ICU. Mm-hmm. You have OR and ICU, so it's a little easier.
I did have a fallback, even though it came back to bite me in the butt. But it's fine. Yeah, I've been on 410s pretty much since November of 2022. And I realized it the other day and was like, damn, no wonder I'm tired all the time. I've been working 4 shifts a week.
It's tiring. And I mean,
everybody says, oh, nurses complain about only 3 shifts or 4 shifts a week, but like, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And even like being a nurse post-COVID, there is no thanks. There is no like appreciation for the hell that we just went through. And they work your ass off. They're like, yeah, you signed up for it. You decided to be a nurse to help others. Okay, well, a little appreciation would be great.
Literally. 100%. And even like after COVID, nothing has changed in other states. Like they were trying to at least like keep ratios or trying to take care of nurses in other states for a little bit during COVID, but after COVID, it's gone right back. And that's like so crazy to me because we are literally the biggest profession. Like if we all stopped working tomorrow, like the whole world would shut down.
Yeah.
Like, the doctors will be there, right? But the doctors don't know how to do half the stuff that we do, just like how the doctors, like, we don't know how to do half the stuff that they do, you know? I had a patient that was like, oh, I want the doctor to DC my A-line. And the doctor's like, yeah, I can do it, but I have no idea what I'm doing. He's like, she does it more often than me. But, like, it's just crazy to me that, like, we weren't able to change our working conditions, and we still aren't, because we're such a beaten down profession that, like, we're just beaten into, like, just... what is the word, like, to falling in line, I guess, into complacency.
Yeah, to submissing to the system.
Yeah, and to being guilty. Well, who's going to take care of the patients if you aren't, you know? Like,
this is a profession that feeds on empathy, being a nurse.
Yeah.
Like, being in the medical field, period. It is a profession that feeds on empathy. Like, any businessman or anybody else in any other system could be like, oh, I want a raise. Like, I need to be paid more.
Yeah.
And the place is going to be like, oh, okay, well, let's sit back and look and see what you need. And then if we complain and say we need to be paid more, it's like, well, you signed up to do this. Like, bro, I did not sign up to be a nun, to be a saint.
Yeah.
I still would like to live comfortably, even though I'm going and I'm putting, you know, myself at risk. God knows how many abusive patients we deal with.
Yeah.
Like, dangerous patients. I have been hit and punched and kicked and bit by patients before. Like,
yeah, and then that's technically a felony, and then they try to guilt you into, oh, don't call the cops on them, don't file a report.
Yeah, like, it's all driven by feeding on our empathy.
Like, oh, well, it happened at work, so, you know, it's just a part of the job. Like, no, like, I should still be able to file a report and press charges against an awake alert-oriented patient that's choosing to abuse me just because they're pissed off and taking it out on me. Like, I understand that you're sick, and I'm going to treat you with respect and empathy. But if you know what you're doing and you're hitting me, like, I'm sorry, 911, he's right here. File the report.
Meanwhile,
I don't care.
We have these hospital CEOs and hospital businessmen making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Trillions.
That do nothing. They don't put their life at risk by going into the hospital every day. They don't put their family members at risk considering they might bring home a disease. Like, they get to sit up in their little cush office or work from home. That must be nice. I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, literally. Or, you know, like, if we quit to go travel nurse or just quit to get a better job where we're just increasing our income, if a businessman or a CEO or anybody else is doing that, you know, good for you. You're taking the steps to improve your life. We do it, they call us selfish.
Yeah, we're suddenly assholes for speaking up for ourselves. And it's because it's a mostly female-driven profession as well. Like,
yeah, 100%.
A man speaks up and says he wants more money, everybody stops and listens. If a woman speaks up and says she wants more money, she's just whining and being a woman, and she needs to shut up and go back to work.
Yep, 100%.
So, what really drove us to start this podcast? As, like, all these podcasts are popping up.
I feel like what makes our podcast different than others is we have a lot of experience. Not to say that the other nurses and whatnot don't, but I feel like we've both been through the ringer a lot in other states and have worked in a lot of different fields of nursing. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot to speak on. And also we're mutuals with a lot of other creators, so we want to have them on as well and get their different perspectives where they have worked in a bunch of different places. But I feel like there's a lot of hot topics that just need to be spoken on. Yeah.
And let's be clear, we named this podcast the Hospital Hotseat because we don't want it to just be a healthcare podcast for nurses to get on here and bitch, because that's what everyone thinks. The nurses are coming to bitch about something again. Guess what? It's for all of healthcare to have a voice.
Because, to bitch.
Yeah. So we can all bitch together. Bitch. No, but I feel like ever since Nurse Life RN, rest in peace, Evie, we loved you. Ever since he's passed, there hasn't really been a leader for allowing a voice for everybody in healthcare. Like, yes, his page was Nurse Life RN, but everybody, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, like anyone that worked in healthcare knew his page and they followed, and we like would all contribute in the little DMs, and he'd post them on his stories, and we would have polls, and like everybody was included, and it was such a like safe and wholesome place for all of us to just like let some steam off and just feel connected in that sense of community. Because sometimes in healthcare, you feel really alone. Like, hospitals, working in the hospital can make you feel so alone. And having that sense of community, and since he's passed, I know there's other people running it, don't get me started. But like, since he's passed, there hasn't been that sense of community. And I feel like people are starting podcasts left and right and pushing for content creation. And since I've started on social media, I've never wanted it to be just for me. It's never just for me to make money and dip out and mind my business for the rest of my life. Like, I wanted to have a voice for the people, to speak up, for people to feel like they're heard and seen just as much as I am. I'm shy. I don't really want I don't want the limelight. I don't want to be like...
But you have a lot of good things to say, though.
I have, like, the bright hair, and I attract a lot of attention with my looks. Like, I really am a quiet, like, keep to myself kind of person. But I feel like I do have things to say, and I like to bring to light things that need to be spoken about. And we need to be considering, like, all different angles. Like, it's not fair to just have one person running everything.
Yeah.
And so we're planning on having people on here. Like, if you want to be on the podcast, like, chime in the comments. Hit us up.
Yeah.
We want to host as many people as we can, and we'll change the topics of the podcast based off of who comes.
Yeah, 100%. I know our first guest. You know who our first guest is going to be?
Randy? Randy?
It is going to be Randy. Randy's been hitting me up nonstop. Yo, I thought you were starting your podcast. What's up with the podcast, Alyssa?
Randy has held us accountable.
Yeah, Randy, the whole reason why we're starting today is because Randy's holding us accountable. So shout out to Randy.
Yeah,
we love you.
Don't follow Randy, go follow Randy.
Yeah,
he's got
100%.
a huge following.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is that it doesn't matter if you have a following or if you don't. It's just if you want to be on the podcast, if you feel like you have a topic to talk about, it helps to just open the conversation. I mean, I know even me, like, some of my videos that pop off the most, like the one about me that I just posted about, like, becoming staff, I kind of felt like I was alone in that. And so then I go and I talk about it, and then it pops off with, like, all these other people talking about how they dealt with, you know, bad ratios, how they're dealing with bad ratios, or how, you know, they literally uprooted their lives and moved to California. And so it makes me not feel, like, as crazy, like, being out here. Because I miss my family, I miss my life in South Florida, but as much as I miss it, it's not a sustainable life for me out there. So there's just certain things that you can talk about that it may make someone else not feel so alone, or, you know, new grads, like pre-shift anxiety, post-shift anxiety, just, like, all kinds of things that people think might but be just, like, only to them. But everyone experiences it.
This isn't our podcast. This is your
podcast. I love you.
We're just the hosts. We're Steve Harvey.
I'm done. I do want to do that Steve Harvey trend where you dress up as Steve Harvey.
Yes. With our matching shirts here.
I'm done. Yeah, we're wearing our matching shirts that Jenna made us, our matching Halloween shirts.
But it's October. It's spooky season, baby.
It is spooky season. But honestly, I feel like that might wrap up our first episode. Just it'll be more, definitely our upcoming episodes, I feel like will be more specialized and more focused on exactly what we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. We have a whole list of a bunch of stuff in our little notebook right here.
Yeah, we got like 6 or 7
pages. And all of our guests and everything as well. But
that's just our thoughts.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get you guys'
exactly,
thoughts.
until we get everybody else to come on too. But for right now, we just wanted to start off just with a broad kind of thing, just talking about, like, a little bit of our experience, who we are, why we're doing what we do.
Yeah.
And now we want to talk to you guys and see who you guys are and why you guys do what you do. So let us know what you want to see.
Yeah. Welcome to the family. Hospital Hotseat for life.
Love it. I hope you guys have a good day. Subscribe, follow, share.
Yeah. We're on all social media. Instagram.
YouTube, TikTok.
Yeah, I guess not all, but the majority.
Yeah, the most important ones. So that's it. Yeah. Santa's out.
We'll be on Spotify and Apple TV too, or Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music.
Podcast.
Hell yeah. Slay.
All right. Bye, guys.
First podcast.
Woo!
Yes!
I can't believe it's finally happened.
I know. Oh my god.